MeMonster.
Chapter 56. Party 1. Come to the square. Isel's shout echoed out. I rose from my seat. Papers about Pick Me Up were scattered across the desk in the room. After collecting the papers and placing them in the drawer beneath the desk, I locked it. As I stepped out into the square, 4 people had gathered: Jenna, Aaron, Iolka, and even the temporary member, Edis. From the rift, a party of 3 emerged, having just finished a battle. It was a reserve party of 5, composed of promising 1-star candidates. However, only 3 individuals came out. The 3 passed us with emotionless faces, like plaster statues. "Are we going to hit the 11th floor again today?" Jenna, with a short bow slung over her back, asked. "Probably the 12th floor. We had spent enough time on the 11th floor, experience efficiency had dropped, and it was time to advance to the next stage. Anything would know that too." "Open! The rift of time and space!" Creak. The door at the front of the square opened. The 3 went in, and as Edis was about to follow, she grabbed my sleeve and whispered, "Is it okay not to say anything?" "What do you mean?" "Fighting against humans." "It's not like we're children, no need to explain everything," I answered, and went inside. After Edis let out a sigh and entered, the door closed behind her. The mirror on the left lit up and a message appeared. "Main dungeon. The current challenge floor is the 12th floor. The door will open in 10 seconds. Get ready." Edis spoke in a low voice. "Whatever happens, just do what needs to be done. I know even without you saying it. If you know, even better." Jenna blinked with a puzzled expression. Aaron turned to Edis. "Are the monsters on the 12th floor that strong?" "They're not too strong. You'll see when we get there." Edis's eyes grew cold. Swish! I drew my sword. The sound of the blade scraping against the sheath tickled my ears. The long sword caught the light, casting a sinister gleam. Teleport, maybe the nth time. When the light that filled my vision disappeared, I found myself in an unfamiliar place. Floor 12. Mission type: subjection. Objective: annihilate the enemy. The field resembled a city. Brick-paved roads stretched between low walls and buildings. However, the streets were deserted. Unnamed leaves were swept away by the wind and flew far in the distance. "Are we subjecting? Where are the enemies?" Jenna knocked an arrow with confidence. Confident eyes. The effect of heroic responsiveness research. Now other heroes could also see the mission objectives displayed as system messages. 13 level 11 human soldiers. Human soldiers? Jenna tilted her head curiously. "Who are you people?" A man's voice came from the other side. I turned my gaze in that direction. Across the street, 7 armed soldiers were looking our way. Clad in chainmail and helmets, they aimed their spears at us. They can see us, different from NPCs, so they're enemies. I drew my shield. Aaron intervened. "Hyungnim, they're not monsters, they're humans, aren't they?" "You mean you won't fight?" "Well, I think we should at least talk first." I turned around. The 3 of them had puzzled expressions. Iolka, who had been rigid, regained her composure and spoke. "I agree. We might get information about this place. We could pass without fighting." "Not fight? I don't want to take unnecessary lives. What about you?" Well," Jenna scratched her head. Edis was standing far away from us, her eyes closed, as if she didn't care. "Hyungnim," Aaron's eyes were wavering. He didn't want to fight. I could probably force him to listen, but considering what lies ahead, it wouldn't be a good approach. It seems like they needed to see it themselves. "Let's do that." "Thank you. I'll try talking to them." Aaron walked towards the road. When he reached the middle, he shouted, "I am Aaron. I wish to speak with you." Aaron stopped in the middle of the road. A figure who seemed like a leader stepped forward. "We're in the same boat. We were dragged to this strange place for no reason." "What are you saying?" "It's so complicated that it's hard to explain. It might be better if you come closer. Don't worry, we won't harm you. We just want to go back. We can't leave because of the strange barrier." "Then I'll come to you." Put down your weapons before you come. Our comrades are quite wary. Aaron hesitated but lowered his spear. I said, "Stop." "Yes? Are you an idiot? Are you just going to do what they say?" I grinned, then shouted, "Come over here, all of you. Put down your weapons. We're wary too." That's inconvenient. It's okay for us to drop our weapons, but it's not okay for you? As I argued, the leader's expression noticeably hardened. After conversing with the soldiers beside him, the leader nodded. "Fine, 3 of us will go instead." "As many as you want." The leader and 2 subordinates placed their weapons on the ground and approached us. "Hyungnim, are you trying to talk to them?" If communication was possible, there were things I wanted to ask. There was a lot of information to be obtained. How they came to this stage, how they ended up being judged by the system as monsters, and anything else they knew. If that's possible. Clang, clang, clang. With each step the soldiers took, the joints of their armor emitted a friction sound. The leader stopped 3 meters away and spread his hands, speaking. "As you can see, we're unarmed. We'd appreciate it if you treated us the same way." Thud. My shield tumbled on the road. Afterward, the sword was dropped beside it. "Is that enough? Fine, now we can talk properly." "But do you know? There's a constant voice in my head. I can't stop it even if I try to block my ears." The man's pupils turned bloodshot. Dark blood vessels started throbbing beside his eyes. "The voice is telling me to kill you. It's telling me to kill you." The leader drew a dagger from his belt. The 2 beside him retrieved small crossbows from their bosoms. I kicked the sword that I had been holding on the instep and sent it flying upward. As it rotated, I caught the rising sword in my hand. Evading the dagger-like short swords that were directed at me, I plunged the blade into the back of one of the men's necks. With my left hand, I drew a dagger from my belt and threw it. The dagger embedded itself in the eye of the soldier who had aimed a crossbow at me. I withdrew the sword from the neck and slashed the upper body of the soldier who lost all strength. Simultaneously, Edis's thrown dagger struck the forehead of the 3rd man like a dart. The bodies of the 3 humans spewed blood as they crumbled. Among the corpses, I stood with my sword dripping hot blood. The dense smell of blood surged even into my head. I spread out the blood-soaked blade and said, "Do you still intend to talk?" I had seen a similar incident during my master's days. The enemies were humans, and the hesitant heroes perished. Negotiation didn't exist, no matter who emerged, no matter how they emerged. Kill or be killed. Aaron raised his head, then silently picked up the spear from the ground. An emotionless voice flowed from his mouth. "Do we have to kill them all?" "Yeah, negotiation won't work." "Understood." Aaron tightened his grip on the spear and aimed at the enemies. The 5 soldiers were already in a combat stance. "Jenna, do you have any intention of sparing them?" "If we don't kill them, we'll be killed." "And you call that an explanation?" "Well, it's fine. We're in a desperate situation. We're desperate." Squish! An arrow that had left the quiver hit a soldier's chest. He fell over with wide eyes. Due to the pressure from the ground, the arrow pierced through his chest and emerged from his back. Yolka couldn't care less. She'd already started casting fire magic. Edis, watching this, muttered bitterly, "It seems I worried for nothing." It's a given. What I valued most in choosing party members wasn't talent or strength, but the mental resilience. It was the desire, the determination to do whatever it takes to survive. Prepare for battle. The formation was complete. Aaron and I in the front, Jenna and Edis in the middle, and Iolka in the rear. With 4 enemies dead, they numbered 9. The soldiers charged at us with a clamor akin to the sound of metal clashing. "These guys aren't normal," Edis spun his daggers in her hands. Abnormal. Literally. Black veins resembling sinister tattoos sprawled across their faces and skin.
Madness flickered in their pupils. Ignite! Whoosh! A wall of flames surged forth in front of us. Ah! Two soldiers engulfed in flames writhed in agony and perished. The metal plates of their heated armor glowed red. Through the flames, Jenna's arrow pierced through the air. A middle-aged soldier with a beard lunged at me with a spear. I blocked with my shield while moving my left hand. The spearhead slid off the shield, causing the soldier to stagger. In front of him lay my sword. Accompanied by a splatter of blood, his neck was almost severed, and he collapsed while clutching his throat, gurgling as he died. Weak. They may be properly equipped, but their formation and discipline were lacking. They charged haphazardly, swinging their weapons. It didn't take 5 minutes to sort them out. In an instant, 12 bodies littered the city square. Only one remained. He sat trembling, quaking in fear. I wiped blood off my blade against the wall and approached the soldier. He spat and raised his voice. "Please spare me. Spare me. I have a wife and daughter waiting for me. I need to go back home. I need to go home." "How do you plan to go back?" "That's... The soldier grabbed his head and screamed. As he screamed, black blood speared from his mouth, and he collapsed. Then his movement ceased. He was dead. Yoka grimaced and commented, "These people are strange." Edis sheathed her dagger on her belt. "They've been brainwashed. I've seen it a few times. Still, this level of thorough brainwashing on this many people is new. Well, if you think about it, last time... Are they the same bastards?" "Yeah, we definitely killed them, but the same bastards showed up." I wiped the tar-like thick black blood off the ground. It was the same as that bitch. I still couldn't figure it out. There were too few clues. But these guys were nothing special. They were just trapped on the 12th floor. Soon, light engulfed us. It was the return signal. Stage clear. Aaron, 2 stars. Edis, 3 stars. Level up. Reward, 3,500 gold, 1 C-grade leather. MVP, Han, 2 stars. We returned through the rift. Edis had already left. The battle was easy, but weariness was etched on the 3 faces. I sheathed my sword and spoke, "Get used to it. I will too." "Yeah. Whether it's a monster or a human, there's not much difference." The blood that had covered my body disappeared without a trace. However, the acrid smell lingered at the tip of my nose for a long while. Taking a life. There was no hesitation, no thrill as I had imagined. It would be the same in the future. It was laughable to think that after killing so many monsters, I would have a problem killing humans. I would do it if necessary, no matter who the opponent was. Back in my room, I organized my materials once again. Humanoid creatures appeared on the 12th floor. If similar guys appeared on the 13th and 14th floors, I could estimate the monsters that would appear on the 15th floor. Based on the methods and times of the 3 parties' extermination, I could guess the nature of the mission. I couldn't help but think about what happened again. Suddenly, a thought struck me. Have I changed? Well, if I had, that would make sense. The me on Earth and the me in the waiting room had changed in many ways. But I didn't have any regrets. There was no choice but to change. If I hadn't, I would have died. It was inevitable. Going back will be tough, readjusting again. I sighed and continued my work.
Chapter 57. As expected, humanoid monsters appeared on the 13th and 14th floors. Though their personnel, equipment, and formations differed, they all shared one thing in common: unwavering hostility toward us. Ironically, this was fortunate. Because of it, party members could fight without hesitation. However, battles against humanoids raised stress levels slightly more than fighting demon-like creatures. even anything who is usually careless refrained from acting recklessly. Once a day, after the battles ended, there was rest. Managing our condition was important in preparation for the 15th floor. Days passed like this. Party 1 reached the appropriate level for conquering the 15th floor. I was level 15, Jenna and Aaron were level 13, and Ioka and Edis were level 11. We hadn't reached the maximum level, but it takes a long time to raise levels for 2 or 3-star members. The experience efficiency was low, one of the few drawbacks of being heroes with high innate ranks. The equipment workshop was operational again. This time, leather pouches were distributed. These accessory items increased the limit for carrying consumables like potions. It was not a bad choice. It was better to carry an extra potion or 2 than to upgrade trash equipment. As the conquest drew near, I set a goal for the party members: acquire at least 1 skill before attempting the 15th floor. This time, the second party that wasn't joining the expedition helped by sticking together overnight for training. And give Han 2 stars, a minor vitality potion. Give Han 2 stars, a minor vitality potion. Don't drop it. It's expensive. Isel, perched on the cart, threw a vitality potion. I accepted the potion and put it into the pouch on my belt. Then I took another and put it in. Isel's hand slipped as she tried to throw the third one. Clang! The minor vitality potion has been destroyed. Tips: items can be lost during the process of carrying them. Expensive, you say? I don't know. It's the fault of the master who made me do it. Isel flapped her wings and blushed. The shattered glass fragments and the red liquid disappeared as they were absorbed into the ground. Redistribution began again. This time it was Jenna's turn. Give Jenna 2 stars, the low life potion. A total of 5 people gathered in the square. Me, Jenna, Aaron, Iolka, and Edis. Master was gathering the party members for item distribution. The intention was clear to anyone. It was to challenge the 15th floor. I observed the members of the first party. Jenna muttered to herself that she could do it. Aaron held his spear with determination until his hands turned red. Ioka was taking deep breaths, and Edis had her eyes closed. Each of them was finding their own way to ease the tension. No one was excessively stiff. Having gone through numerous practical battles with me, they naturally possessed this level of know-how. I finally glanced at my status window. Han Israt, 2 stars, level 15, EXP 38 by 120. Class, Novice. Strength, 35 by 35. Intelligence, 10 by 10. Health, 32 by 32. Agility, 30 by 30. Skills, Minor Swordsmanship, level 7. Mind's Eye, level 4. Flame Resistance, level 2. Pain Resistance, level 4. Composure, level 4. Frenzy, level 3. Equestrianism, level 1. Total stat value, 107. For a level 15 2-star, these were quite decent stats. Enough to compare with advanced 3 stars. The result of effort and calculation. Approximately 2 months had passed since arriving here. Not a single day had been taken for rest. I had 7 skills. Excluding equestrianism, which was a support skill, there were 6 skills that directly aided combat. Mind's Eye I refined through focused concentration. It combined the abilities of insight and projectile defense. By significantly enhancing my ability to deflect projectiles, it granted defensive effects and enabled me to discern openings in my opponent's defenses. This skill was an A-grade quality and had been part of my planned acquisitions since my arrival here. Also, pain resistance, composure, and frenzy had each been raised several levels. Activating frenzy every dawn resulted in this. Improving mental skills wasn't easy, but I seemed to have found an effective training method. And we're ending with this. A vial of mana potion was held in Iolka's hand. 3 potions for each person. The warehouse door opened and the empty cart moved on its own into the interior.
Isel wiped her sweat from her forehead and exhaled with a snort, saying, "Listen carefully to what Hans says, everyone. If you want to survive, follow orders. Why do you keep saying unnecessary things? It's to build morale. If you follow orders half-heartedly, you'll end up in trouble. Even without you saying it, I know how to handle my party." "Is that so? Anyway, let's gather strength for the 15th floor. Don't die." With a sprinkle of stardust, Isel vanished. Simultaneously, the door leading to the rift opened. "She's always so bossy." Jenna shrugged her shoulders and entered. After that, members of the first party entered one by one. Lastly, as I entered, the door closed. "Climb the tower, save the world. Main dungeon, current floor, 14. 15th floor. There were some expectations, but the exact nature of the mission wasn't known. It wasn't like the quests on the 10th floor. I spoke up. "Do as you've been doing. If you stay focused, you can return alive." "I can just follow you, right?" "Don't rely on me too much." "It's okay to rely on you. Your instructions are accurate." Idis chuckled. I glanced at the system message at the top of my field of vision. The control panel was moving chaotically. "Using recording function. Recording allows you to save the record of this stage as a video. You can watch it anytime, but for this, you need to purchase the feature." Is he saving replays? It's not a bad habit. I too had analyzed the features of heroes, their achievements, and the types of stages by re-watching stages I had already cleared. There were many things that couldn't be understood with just a single viewing. Furthermore, it was useful in identifying the causes of stage failures. Analyzing past records greatly helped in nurturing insight and judgment. Although there wasn't much that the master could contribute to the mission yet, this would change as we advanced in floors. Training now would help you shine in the future. Would you like to purchase the recording function? This will consume 300 gems. Yes. Flash. A temporary flash occurred in the rift of time and space. Congratulations, Master. From now on, you can enjoy the hero's records. A triangle appeared at the top of my field of vision, indicating the start of the recording. Simultaneously, a faint light emerged from the mirror on the left. I took a deep breath. "Everyone." The party member's attention was focused on me. I spoke.
This mission has two features. First, it's a special mission. Recall the explanation of the statue of the goddess on the 10th floor. I mentioned that if it was destroyed, we would all perish. In this 15th floor, there's a similar condition for total annihilation. The third party entered the 15th floor and was wiped out in just 5 minutes. There was no appearance of fear, panic, or any kind of death state before their demise, meaning they didn't experience any battle. They failed the mission without even understanding it, and as a consequence, they were wiped out. Then what we need to do when we enter is to find, right, Idis. We need to quickly find the objective and prevent mission failure. However, we don't have much time. At best, around 15 minutes. 15 minutes? Party 3 went in and died in 5 minutes. Do you understand the significance? If you're just spacing out inside, the mission fails automatically. We'll all be wiped out. This is the second feature. The flow of time between the waiting room and the stage is different. If you translate this, the time given to us is about 15 minutes. This mission's time is not much. In other words, it's a time attack rule where you must satisfy conditions within a limited time. Once we enter the mission, we have 3 minutes to gather information and move. All 4 nodded. Main dungeon, current challenge floor, is the 15th floor. The door will open in 10 seconds. Prepare yourselves. The light gradually intensified, filling the rift of time and space, and as the light dimmed, we found ourselves in an unfamiliar place. I looked around. The sky was clear. The time was daytime. The 15th floor is also a city. I surveyed the surroundings again, this time more meticulously. If the 10th floor's city had rough stone-based buildings and a chaotic structure, this city was neatly organized. Multi-story wooden buildings and well-maintained roads resembling a checkerboard caught the eye. Is it really true?
We must go.
Two scruffy old men passed us by. There were also many other people. Citizens were going about their daily lives in various parts of the city, hagglers bargaining with shopkeepers at the fruit store, children playing in the alleys, passers-by dressed for some destination. However, these people didn't seem interested in us. They were NPCs who couldn't see us. An older woman with a hunchback met my eyes. As if not seeing us, she ignored us and walked somewhere. The atmosphere is different from the 10th floor. Back then I could clearly understand that things were turning for the worst, but this time there was no foreboding. A peaceful everyday life was unfolding in the city. And then the mission window appeared in the landscape. Floor 15. Mission type: escort. Objective: protect the designated individual. We four focused on one point. We were looking at the objective window. There were no warning messages, no messages indicating enemy status and numbers. Only the objective window was displayed. I glanced at passing citizens and then spoke. Gather. All four came closer. I spoke. As you can see, the mission is escort. We don't have much time, as I mentioned. We need to find the designated person. They'll probably die soon. Who do we have to protect? We can't see any monsters, only people. Who should we protect, and where is he? These were the key questions of this mission. Does anyone know about this place? I do, Hyungnim. I've come here to sell things before. Really? Yes, it's called Adilt. It's a city with trade booming in every field. I don't know why we're here, though. Aaron's voice trailed off. As expected, the stage of the mission is Townia. I closed my eyes briefly and then continued speaking. What are the unique places in the city? Unique places? Landmarks or historical sites. Anything will do. If there's anything, let me know. In the center of the city, there's a grand temple dedicated to a goddess. It's famous as one of the holy sites of the sect. It's called the Silver Hall. Except for the saints, it's one of the few temples on the continent. Ah, the Silver Hall. I've heard of it. It's supposed to be huge. Then are these people going to that temple? Most of the citizens on the street were moving in one direction. Aaron looked closely at them and gestured. It seems so. Looks like some event is happening. Is it an event location? Let's move. Let's go. Where are we going? To the center of the city. If there was more time, I would have gathered more information, but it was time to move. I took a step forward and the party members followed. I glanced at Edis, who was walking next to me. Edis, we're going to the temple as we are. I'll need your assistance. Got it. Edis darted into an alleyway adjacent to the main road and then began climbing walls. She was the most agile person in the party, and with her unique ability to wield a dagger and a bow at the same time, she was well suited for this role. She would follow us and provide assistance in acquiring information. There are so many people, Jenna remarked, watching the pedestrians passing by. She was right. As we headed to the center of the city, the number of people increased. Moreover, their faces showed anticipation. I quickened my pace. After about 3 minutes of walking, the outline of a massive building appeared in the distance. As we continued walking for a while, the scenery abruptly changed. A spacious square emerged, crowded with people of all ages and genders. The entire population of the city seemed to be gathering here. At the entrance of the square, 2 soldiers were conducting inspections. The soldiers were dressed in elaborate armor that glinted silver. Wings were engraved on the helmet in the shape of a cross. Aaron murmured briefly, "Guards from the temple." The soldiers, who had been watching the pedestrians, turned their gaze towards us. As I approached them, they reached for the hilts of their swords at their waists. "Stop. You can't enter." I grabbed the head of one soldier, pulled him towards me, and smashed my knee into his nose. The sound of bones breaking accompanied the spray of blood. The soldier fell without even being able to scream. The soldier beside him attempted to blow a horn hanging around his neck. I struck the side of his face with my shield, then grabbed his head and slammed it against the wall. Thud, thud, thud.
I did it 3 times before I let go of his head, and the soldier slid down the wall, groaning. Youngnim, why did you suddenly... Don't you get it? I poked the soldier's side with my toe. These bastards can see us. That means they're enemies.
Chapter 58. Simple Logic. During the 10th floor defense mission, our allied soldiers and cavalry NPCs couldn't observe us. However, these guys could clearly recognize us. As I approached, I felt the gaze of an enemy. This meant they weren't ordinary NPCs. Elka, looking perplexed, said, "Well, they might not be enemies, you know? There's a possibility for that too. Don't worry, I haven't killed them." Half of them seemed dead, though. Murmurs arose. Without warning, a comical scene unfolded, attracting a crowd of onlookers. One witness began explaining, gesturing wildly. "Oh, well, the soldier suddenly collapsed with a nosebleed, and the guy next to him, well, he did something too. He banged his head against the wall on his own, like this, like this." The man with his head shaved pretended to smash his head against the wall. Thanks to the spectators, the path to the square became a bit quieter. I grabbed the horn hanging from the soldier's neck and tossed it into the sewer. "Let's go, we're running out of time." We crossed the gate and entered the square. The square was packed with people, so densely crowded that it was impossible to move. The noise from hundreds of voices filled the surroundings. I tuned my ears to the chatter. "It's said that if you touch it just once, you won't have any more wishes." "I don't believe that. Probably just nonsense." "Who are you to suspect anyone? You're a guy who spends the whole day drinking." "Well, you brat, want to die? Come at me if you dare, you old fart. You've been bothering me for a while now." Most of the conversations were meaningless, but among them there were repeated words. Him. They referred to someone with a pronoun, not a name. It seemed that he was the reason so many people had gathered in the square. It's highly likely to be him. In the middle of the square stood a grand and splendid building reminiscent of a castle. Is that the Silver Hall? Yes. It was about 20 meters tall, with white marble walls and stained glass windows that shimmered with iridescent colors. On the domed roof stood statues depicting twin goddesses. The walls were intricately carved with mysterious landscapes and patterns. People's attention was focused on the Silver Hall, particularly on one spot within it, a terrace standing 15 meters high. "Look, Opa, someone seems to be coming out," Jenna pointed to the entrance to the terrace. And indeed, someone was coming out. It was an old man dressed in a white priest's robe. He glanced across the crowd and then tapped his staff on the ground. "Everyone, be quiet." A deep and authoritative voice spread across the entire square. The commotion that had been going on came to a sudden stop as people fell silent. Elka murmured, "They're using magic." "The successor of the sun has arrived. Do not cause a disturbance." Time was being wasted. We weren't here for sightseeing. The countdown was still ticking down, little by little. "We will enter the temple." "Inside the temple?" "Yes." It wasn't clear who we needed to protect. There wasn't enough information, but there was no time to hesitate. If such an event occurred in the stage, it was highly likely that the guarded individual was a key figure in the event. Decisions needed to be made quickly. I turned my gaze to the entrance of the temple. Soldiers clad in armor were arranged beside the doorway with wings carved in relief. They were rigorously controlling who could enter the temple. Suddenly, my eyes met with those of one soldier. I drew my sword from its scabbard. The soldier's eyes widened in astonishment. "They can see us too." With my sword outstretched, I approached the entrance. Soldiers swarmed in. A man who seemed to be the leader stepped forward with a cautious expression. "What are you guys?" "Step aside unless you want to get hurt." "The temple is off limits. Are you heretics?" "Heretics?" "That's right, we serve the goddess." I knocked over the plaster statue of a goddess next to me. The statue's waist snapped, and it shattered into pieces. "Is this what you call heresy?" You crazy bastard! Kill him!" Accompanied by sound effects, a warning window appeared. Warning: 13 level 13 human soldiers. Unknown number of enemies, level unknown. It was a combat message indicating the appearance of enemies. So it's the correct answer, huh? Boy, you're really aggressive. Are you guys also believers of some kind of goddess cult or something? No, I only believe in myself. And Opa. Aaron drew his spear. Jenna knocked an arrow. "We'll pierce through them and enter the temple. The target we're guarding should be in there." Clang. The soldiers simultaneously drew their weapons. swords, spears, and halberds. Exterminate the heretics. Following the orders of their leader, the soldiers rushed forward. I put on my shield with my left hand and said, "Push through." Yes. The soldier at the front swung his halberd. After deflecting it with my shield, I thrust my sword into his throat. Ah! Amid coughing up froth, the soldier behind him thrust his spear. As I turned my torso, the spear grazed the side of my leather armor. It bent, and my sword blade pierced through thin steel, cutting through flesh. Gah! Yah! Another soldier charged with a halberd in hand. I crouched down and used my shield to sweep him off his feet. He spun in the air, and I waved my sword downward. Don't engage them one by one. Run to the inside. There's no need to fight them all. I swept aside the soldier charging at me and started running, the other three following suit. Among the people gathered in the square, some discovered the bodies. Oh, what? The person is dead! A high-pitched scream echoed through the square. We entered the stairs leading to the gate. The leader swung his sword and shouted, "Block them! Protect the temple from the heretics!" Splat! Thunk! An arrow pierced the leader's forehead. Jenna shot arrows at the soldiers following us as she ran up the stairs, aiming at their legs and arms. Soldiers hidden beside the stone pillars beside the stairs revealed themselves. "Ignore them! We don't have time!" Aaron thrust his spear into the soldier guarding the door. Thud. I kicked open the door that led to the temple's interior. Once I confirmed Elka had entered as well, I closed the door behind her. "Elka, I know." Elka quickly chanted a spell. A piece of wood from inside the temple rose by itself and got wedged between the door handles. Thump, thump. Loud banging on the door echoed from outside. A middle-aged priest, who had been reading a book on the altar, opened his eyes wide. "Who are you people? How did you get here?" I quickly surveyed the interior. There were passages to the left and right. 7 soldiers holding weapons burst out from the right passage and drew their weapons. "Who dares intrude here? Clear them out and then follow me." "What about you, Oppa?" "I'll go first. We'll catch up quickly."
As I entered the left passage, a colonnaded hall with a white carpet stretched before us. At the end of the corridor was a staircase leading upward. "I'll kill you!" I swung my shield at the helmet of a soldier charging at me. Thump! I climbed the spiral staircase. During the ascent, a door suddenly opened, and a heavily armored knight emerged. The knight brandished a gem-studded sword and began speaking in a dignified voice. "I am Kyle von Strauss, the sword of the Strauss family, a holy knight representing the wrath of the goddess. I shall smite the evil before me." I walked past the knight, continuing up. "Wait, hold on! I'm introducing myself! Wait, don't ignore me!" Beside the railing of the staircase, a cylindrical pillar with a pot on top came into view. I kicked the pillar down with my foot, and it crashed with a loud noise, rolling down the stairs. "Ah, damn! Wait a—" I continued to ascend. At the top of the spiral staircase, there was a long hall. Through the glass windows on the hall side, the square scenery was visible. I glanced out into the square. Armed soldiers were gathering around the temple from all sides. I proceeded down the hall. One of the many doors in the hall opened. "I am—" Dump! I forcefully pushed the door. The partially open door collided heavily with the knight who was trying to come out and hit him head-on. Crash! The knight clenched his face and fell to the ground. I ran deep into the hall. Along the way, I encountered a few people, but they passed me with faces that showed they knew nothing. It seemed that even within the temple, there were those who could see us and those who couldn't. At the end of the hall, there was a wide and splendid garden. Sunlight streamed into the garden through gaps in the ceiling. At the far end of the garden was the terrace I had seen from the square. Shadows of people appeared beyond the curtains hanging on the terrace. "It's over there." There was only about 3 minutes left. Time was running out. I opened the garden door and entered inside. 3 knights emerged from the shadows of the trees. They had solemn expressions as they gazed at me and adjusted their visors. "Death to the heretics!" The knights slowly approached with their long swords aimed at me. Their stances were different from the undisciplined soldiers displaying formal swordsmanship training. A shadow inside the terrace moved. Another shadow appeared behind the curtain, showing the outline of a priest's robe. "Now, is it my turn?" Yes, Your Highness. The people gathered in the square are waiting. But what's the commotion outside? It seems that intruders have come. We will soon repel them, so please, don't worry. 2 figures beyond the terrace were engaged in a conversation. Amidst them, the 3 knights closed in on me. They were an unwavering formation. I took a deep breath and exerted force in my right hand holding the sword. Sip. The middle knight exhaled sharply and thrust his sword. I blocked with my shield. The 2 on the sides followed with their thrusts at different times. Stepping to the right, I deflected the thrust with my sword. And then the 3 of them launched a combined attack. The 3 sword blades worked together in harmony, attacking without invading each other's space. The sword edge grazed my cheek. A thin light of blood sprayed, staining the grass in the garden. I rolled on the ground, avoiding 2 slashes, then swung my sword in a wide arc. The knight naturally blocked it. As I rose, I stomped hard on his right foot. Thud! I swung the sword downward, hitting his left foot with the blade. The knight staggered. I twisted the sword he held and slashed his neck. Then I threw the blood-stained sword at the knight behind me. He stepped back a few paces and deflected it with his sword. He fell back a few feet, allowing me to focus on the knight before me. The front knight thrust his sword with 3 rapid stabs. I deflected them all with my shield. Then I thrust the blade into the gap of his visor, whereupon blood poured out. He crumpled to the ground, blood flowing from the gap in his visor. He collapsed as if his strength had left him. 1 knight remained. He gripped his longsword with both hands and assumed a defensive stance. I smirked and charged forward, swinging the sword and severing his neck. The garden turned crimson from the blood spewing from the corpses. I wiped the blood off the sword and moved forward, beyond the garden. I appreciate the opportunity you've given me. I won't forget this. Not a problem. The goddess will surely be pleased as well. Then I'll be on my way. I pulled back the terrace curtains. The sunlight poured down like rain. I half shut my eyes against the pouring sunlight and took in the view beyond the terrace. I locked eyes with an elderly priest within the terrace. His wrinkled eyes widened in disbelief. He brandished his staff in a fluster, but the staff was aimed not at me, but at someone behind me, heading for the terrace railing. Dark energy gathered at the tip of the staff, swirling. I recognized it, the magic arrow that the black priest used on the 10th floor. Thunk! I severed the priest's neck as it was. King! The energy gathered at the staff's tip shattered the terrace's ceiling and burst forth. Finally, someone on the terrace turned their gaze towards me. A girl in a white dress. She wore a golden crown over her flowing silver hair. She seemed to be in her mid-teens. The girl looked at me and then raised her voice in surprise. Why are you? I replied briefly, You don't need to know.
Chapter 59. The girl widened her eyes at the sight of the priest's decapitated head. What the? Who are you? Who dares invade the temple and commit such madness? This little one can see me too. With a bloodied sword in hand, I approached the girl. An assassin? Have you come to kill me? Quiet! I grabbed the girl by the head and pressed her down. She collapsed on the floor beneath me. 3 figures emerged from below the railing, each holding a crossbow. Clang! 3 bolts were released. I wasn't the target. The bolts were aimed at the girl who lay prone and trembling. I deflected the bolts with my sword in 3 different directions. Then 3 daggers were thrown from various angles, again targeting the girl. I used my shield to knock the daggers away. What in the world? Lie flat! I glanced at the daggers scattered on the terrace floor. A purplish liquid dripped from their tips. Poison. The assassins prepared to throw more daggers. Ping! At that moment, an arrow pierced the head of one of the assassins. I seized the opportunity and closed in on the nearest one. He swung his poison dagger, but I easily evaded and thrust my sword deep into his chest. The last assassin extended his right hand toward me. Clank! A mechanical sound came from his sleeve, launching a hidden blade. I blocked it with my shield. They were skilled with tricks, but their combat prowess was weaker than a knight's. As the assassin prepared to throw a dagger at the girl, a shadow descended from above and struck him. The shadow's blade gleamed, and blood spurted from his throat. Edith turned the bloody dagger in her hand. The walls were very high. I had a hard time climbing them. What about the others? There were 2 more. I dealt with them. Edith sheathed her dagger and glanced at the girl lying on the ground. I asked, "Do you know her?" She seems familiar from somewhere. And, who are you people? This little one is the target we need to protect. The others can see us, but they're enemies. The situation became clear at a glance. If I'd been a little later, the girl would have been killed by the priest's magical arrow in front of everyone at the plaza. The assassins who appeared afterward were also clearly targeting her. I looked down at the terrace below. Due to the live broadcast of the tragedy, chaos had erupted throughout the square. Soldiers outside the square rushed toward the temple. The previously locked gate had been breached. "This is not a place for the likes of you to enter. Go back immediately." Ah! An arrow struck the ground next to the girl. Archers from the second-floor windows of a nearby building were aiming at us. I chuckled. "Are you really okay with us leaving? If we go, you're going to die." "What in the world?" "Keep it short. We don't have time." I deflected the incoming arrows with my shield. "If you want to live, come with us. Otherwise, die right there. Yes or no. Don't waste words. Your answer?" The girl looked at the bodies strewn on the floor, glanced between Edith and me, then closed her eyes tightly. "Fine." Mission success. Special NPC Priasis Al Ragna has joined the party. Mission type has been changed. Mission type, escape. Objective, escape the city with the protected target. Escape. The mission objective was updated. As expected, I told the girl, "All right, sit there by the railing. Don't come out until I say so." The girl lowered herself deeply behind the railing. I picked up a crossbow from beside one of the assassins' bodies. A quiver filled with bolts was nearby. Edith prepared to descend. "What about you?" "I'll keep them in check." I took cover behind the railing and aimed at the archers through the scope. Pulling the trigger, a bolt shot out and struck an archer in the torso. A hit. It was my first, but not difficult. I began shooting back at the archers in the other building. Edith retrieved a long, thin rope from her belt pouch. She created a loop, hung it over the protruding part of the railing, and let it dangle down. Made from the sinews of the forest queen, the strong rope could easily bear a person's weight. Translator note, the boss of the weekly dungeon, Candleroot Forest. Loading a bolt into the crossbow, I asked Edith, "Have you ever done rope climbing?" "What are you talking about?" "If you don't know how, hang on to me. If you fall and hurt yourself, it'll be a hassle." As I shot the third archer with the crossbow, Jenna, Aaron, and Elka joined us, their clothes stained with blood. Jenna spoke anxiously, "Opa, there's no time. Soldiers are rushing in from below." "I don't need you to tell me that. That's why we're preparing." I pointed to the girl who was watching us suspiciously. "Watch closely. This little one is our protected target." "I'm not little." "As you can see, she gets upset if you call her little." Jenna and Aaron looked at the girl and nodded. However, surprise flickered in Elka's eyes. "This person is..." "Doesn't matter who she is." "But it's surprising to meet here. Who are you people? Do you know me?" "We're a bit in a hurry at the moment." I let go of the crossbow. Jenna took over suppressing the enemies. With her much faster and more precise shooting, the archers in the building fell one after another. "Listen up. Starting now, we'll descend using this rope and reach the escape route." "I know the route. There are fewer soldiers on the left. The path is complex, which makes it easy to hide." "Then we'll head that way. Any objections?" All 3 shook their heads. "Elka, create a wall of flames. Prevent the enemies from approaching." "Got it." The descent order, Edith, Aaron, me, Elka, and lastly, Jenna. Most of the soldiers in the square had entered the temple. If we returned the way we came, we'd encounter numerous soldiers. The sound of soldiers climbing the stairs was faintly audible. "I'll go first." Edith held onto the rope and started descending. The rest of the soldiers in the square noticed the rope and started running towards us. "Ignite!" Flames erupted from Elka's fingertips, blocking the soldiers in the square. She pointed to the entrance of the terrace with her other hand. This time, a line of flames shot up, blocking the entrance. 2 soldiers exiting the garden were engulfed in flames, turning into charred remains. "Sorcerer! Kill the sorcerer first!" Arrows flew from beyond the wall of flames. I kicked a large table on the terrace, knocking it over to the side. The arrow thudded into the table. Next was Aaron. He took a deep breath and started descending the rope. Below was chaos. People stumbled and rushed out of the square due to the sudden fire and disaster. It was fortunate. Fewer obstacles meant a better escape. Edith, who had descended first, swung her dagger and shot arrows, guarding the descent point. Aaron soon joined her. I gestured to the girl. "Next is us. Come." "Are you referring to me? Who else would I be talking about?" I grinned and hugged the girl. "Hold on tight. Don't let go." "Oh, I got it." The distance to the ground was about 15 meters. For an untrained civilian, this was a challenging height. The 5 of us were accustomed to this method from training camp obstacle courses. Even Ioka, a magician, had learned it. I tightly grasped the leather gloves and held on to the rope. The girl clung to me, eyes wide with fear. After a swift kick to the railing, I used the momentum to start descending. Ping! An arrow flew from somewhere and sliced through a few strands of the girl's silver hair. "Ah!" The girl screamed, swallowing her voice, and clung to me. Holding the rope with my right hand and embracing the girl with my left, I swiftly descended. Just before reaching the ground, I kicked off the wall to slow down and landed safely. "It's over. You can let go." The girl hurriedly moved away from me. I scanned the area. Most civilians had evacuated, and soldiers were steadily filling the surroundings. Although we had the wall of flames, it couldn't cover all directions. I shouted upward, "Hurry!" A soldier screamed and swung his sword at me. I parried and thrust my sword aside, piercing his heart. Edith and Aaron were struggling by my side. I joined them, taking care of the approaching soldiers one by one. "Aaron, 2 stars, has entered a bleeding state. His health decreases at regular intervals." "Aaron, 2 stars, has entered a poison state. His health decreases at regular intervals." A status change message for the hero appeared, visible only to me. It's not the right time yet. I ignored it and swung my sword. After a while, Ioka descended using the rope, and lastly Jenna followed, jumping down. Phew! Thought I'd be left behind. Ioka and Jenna took off the gloves they had used and threw them away. They had looted them from the assassins' bodies. With this, the target was secured, and our party members were unharmed. Now, if we could just leave the field, we would receive a clear judgment. Soldiers poured out from the other side of the square and the temple entrance. I looked at the girl. "Run to the left if you don't want to die." The girl started running frantically. We formed a protective formation around her and ran from the soldiers. A soldier chasing us shouted, "Don't let them escape! Chase the witch and her followers!" "A witch, you say? Seems like they're talking about you." "That can't be!" The girl's face turned ashen. A group of soldiers burst from the passageway leading to the left side of the square. A knight in heavy armor raised his halberd. "You won't get a—" Jenna's arrow pierced through the gap in the knight's armor as he spoke. I struck the swaying knight's head with my shield. Edith passed by and deeply slashed his throat. "Kill them! Kill them all!" Soldiers appeared, blocking the road. There were at least 30 of them. If we wasted time, we'd soon be surrounded by the soldiers behind us. "This way!" Edith signaled to turn into a winding alleyway. We followed her. "Where does this road lead?" I checked from the rooftop. If we follow it, we should reach the outskirts of the city. Soldiers streamed out from the entrance of the alleyway. When Ioka signaled, one side of a partly collapsed wall crumbled, blocking the entrance. The soldiers roared from the outside, but they wouldn't get in for a while. After walking for a while, a small open space appeared. Edith glanced at the girl behind her, then sat down on a brick. "Let's take a short rest." I nodded. The girl was panting heavily. She hesitated, then sat down on the dirt floor. The idea of resting seemed terrifying to her. "How can things turn out like this?" she mumbled, confused. I took out a potion and took a sip. Even without injuries, the potion had a healing effect. A slight vitality surged through my body. Rest for 5 minutes, then we move. The blocked passage Iolka created wouldn't last much longer. This place would soon be discovered. Getting surrounded here would be harder to escape than being trapped on the main road. Originally, the plan was to rest here, then burst out into the streets to escape in one go. Even if we were surrounded during that process, the plan was for Iolka to use her Tier 3 fire magic to temporarily break through the encirclement, then guide the target to the escape route. Through training, Iolka had reached the point where she could use the maximum charge of her fire magic without fainting. That way we could achieve the clear condition for the escort mission. Aaron? Yes? Are you injured? I guess you noticed. Aaron tilted his head. A dagger was lodged in his side. The seeping blood was violet. He had been attacked by the scattered assassins among the soldiers. Poisoned. This was a status abnormality that couldn't be cured with a low-level health potion.
Chapter 60. Drinking the potion didn't help with the pain, Aaron said with a bitter smile. At his feet lay an empty glass bottle that once held the potion. Jenna spoke urgently, her voice tinged with concern. "Oppa, is there no way to help him?" Though Aaron seemed composed, his complexion was gradually growing pale. He could only move properly for about 10 minutes. I gazed at the girl, who was tapping her leg while seated, and asked, "Do you have any abilities of any kind?" "What kind of ability are you talking about?" "I mean a recovery ability." The girl glanced at Aaron and turned her head. "I'm sorry." "I see." Occasionally, among the NPCs, there were individuals with special abilities. Just to be sure, I had asked, but it seemed to be a letdown. The recovery potion wouldn't work. We didn't have an antidote. Even help from an NPC wasn't possible, if that's the case. Aaron lowered his head. His tone was calm, but his voice trembled slightly. "If one can't keep up, young Neem said he would abandon him. It seems now is that time." Aaron clenched his fists, gripping the windowsill. "I will buy time. Leave me behind." I observed the three of them. Edis turned away. Jenna lowered her head, and Aolka stared at Aaron with a determined expression. "I want to stay with you," Jenna said. "Jenna, there's no way. But it's just that I was weak and got hurt." "What about you?" I asked. "It's your decision," Aolka replied. "In the end, is this leaving it up to me?" I closed my eyes and contemplated deeply. Efficiency-wise, abandoning him was the right choice. The escort target had no ability to defend herself. With Aaron added, the burden would increase more than twofold. Protecting one person and protecting two were entirely different matters. And to add to that, Aaron would soon be hindered. While he said he would buy time, instead of merely buying time, he most likely would meet his end. I let out a deep sigh and then opened my eyes. Aaron's expression was one of resignation. After taking a sip of the potion, I handed the remaining half-empty bottle to Aaron. He took it with surprise. "What?" "Drink it. The potion is useless. It can't heal you, but it can prevent your injuries from worsening." There were other potion bottles in my pouch. I took out another one and handed it to Aaron. "Everyone, take out your potions." First, Jenna took out a potion. 3 bottles in total. Aolka also retrieved hers, carefully, just 1 bottle. Due to the magic potion, she only had 1 health potion. Edis took out hers as well. About 10 potions were gathered in one place. "Drink 1 sip every 10 minutes. "It's a waste." "I decide that." I continued. "Starting now, we'll split into 2 parties. The first will be me, Edis, and the kid. The second will be Aaron, Jenna, and Aolka. The role of the first party is to guide the kid to the exit, and your task will be to keep Aaron alive until we get the kid out. Helping Aaron Oppa is our task. They'll be after the kid, so if you go in the opposite direction, you might find a safe place." "Ha, young Neem, Keep quiet." Aaron fell silent.
Edis, who had been leaning against the wall with folded arms, spoke up. Han, it'll be tough to break through like that. The soldiers will be crowded and gaps will open in the escort net. That's true. If we split the party like this, 2 people would have to protect the escort target. Available combat power would significantly decrease. We just need to change our approach. Change the approach? From breakthrough to infiltration. I looked up. The once clear sky was now tinted with pink hues. Let's wait for night and then escape the city. If our combat power drops below half, attempting a forced breakthrough is impossible. However, there are advantages to this plan as well. With fewer operatives, we can be more discreet. Depending on our actions, we might be able to escape without engaging in combat. If we're not going to engage in combat, there's no need to bring along a firepower weapon like a mage. Moreover, fire magic inevitably causes disturbances in the surroundings. Therefore, Aoka is excluded. We'll insert the versatile Jenna to expand our range of responses to anything that occurs during the execution of the plan. You 2 head to the outskirts of the city. There will probably be search parties active throughout the night. You just need to evade them with Aaron until we finish our escape. To face this in humiliation. If you die, none of that matters. Footsteps could be heard from afar. Soldiers were entering the alley. Aaron contorted his face as if he were about to cry. I'm sorry. Don't delude yourself. I'm not keeping you alive for your sake. Yes. You 2, if you can't protect Aaron, don't hesitate to leave him behind. Your lives are more important than a wounded man. Got it? Jenna and Aoka nodded before putting the potions into their pockets. Now let's move. Rest time is over. The open space where we had been resting was divided into 3 paths. The path that led downward, and the left and right paths. The paths were intricately entwined. This would be helpful in evading pursuit. You go right. We'll go left. Got it. Jenna and Aoka supported Aaron and disappeared down the right path. They might not evade the pursuing groups entirely, but there should be more looking for us. Their goal would be to kill the kid. Let's go. The girl stood up. Edis stood up. Edis at the front, the girl in the middle, and me at the back. We moved forward in the alley. The path was narrow and the walls were high. Do you have any good places to hide? There are quite a few. The alleys are complex and you can also enter buildings. We can enter buildings? I tried earlier. There weren't any invisible walls. Luckily. If we can enter buildings, our options expand significantly. As long as we find a proper hiding spot, we can buy time until dawn. After a while down the alley, the path began to widen. Trash was scattered everywhere, and worn buildings caught the eye. From within the street, we could hear screams and laughter. It was a slum. These things existed even in a well-organized city. A man sitting next to the entrance stood up. His greasy face was covered in sweat. Chuckling, he approached us. More precisely, he headed towards the girl in the middle of us. Heh, what kind of rice cake is this? The girl jumped in surprise and stepped back. Miss, are you lost? Or did you run away? Let me guide you. The man seemed to ignore Edis in front of him as he passed by. Edis grabbed him as he walked past and forcibly pushed his foot. The man spun around in midair and fell to the ground. Thud. Edis hit the back of his head with her heel. With a sound like bones breaking, blood spurted. The man trembled, writhing on the ground.
Ignoring the fallen man, we passed by and entered the slum. As soon as we entered, pieces of trash were swept up by the wind and flew around. Along with that, an indescribable, nauseating smell wafted through the air. The girl wrinkled her nose and pinched it shut. A clothesline was hung between high walls. Dirty clothes were hanging on the line, but there were no residents in sight. If we're hiding, this place should be good. The paths are as tangled as a maze, and there are plenty of buildings. I nodded at Edis's words. First, we needed a place to stay until it was dark. Action would come after that. That's when the message popped up. Tips about long missions. Sometimes missions can take a long time. Even if you log off, the hero will continue to act. It was a guide message about long missions. Since there was signs of the mission dragging on, it seemed that the system had made a judgment. I'll go check first. Edith stooped low, as if melding with the shadows of the wall. Her figure became blurry. It was the effect of Edith activating the thief's exclusive skill, stealth. Edith, who had triggered the skill, disappeared into the inner part of the street. "Stand behind me." I walked slowly, surveying my surroundings. There were hardly any people in the slum. It's better that way. Soon enough, soldiers will flood in here too, and the search will begin. I glanced behind me briefly. The girl's expression was tense, but she was maintaining a certain level of composure. There was no hint of childishness or tantrums for someone of her age. She's not an ordinary kid, then. If she were, she probably would have rejected the suggestion to follow us. Amidst the chaos, she quickly identified her way to survive. After a while, Edith returned and we entered a rundown building following her lead. A 2-story stone building on the brink of collapse. The windows were covered with nailed cloth. Inside, very little light seeped through, making it dark. Aside from the front door, there was also a back door, and I noticed a noticeable alley that could be used as an escape route. Perfect. Even if soldiers were to approach, there was a way to flee. We decided to spend time here. Edith immediately began setting traps using thin strings and stones. She placed a stack of stones tied with strings on top of the entrance after stretching the tight string across it. If someone were to touch the string, the stone stack would collapse, creating noise. It was the effect of Edith's skill, trap installation. Rogues shone the brightest in missions of this type. Edith had also acquired numerous skills over time. "We'll be spending time here." The girl leaned against a half-collapsed wall and sat down. Her once white dress was now dirtied with mud and dust. I pulled a dusty chair from the living room and sat on it. With a knife sheath on my lap, I looked out the window. The sky visible through the gaps in the nailed cloth was dimly lit. "I'm going out for a while." "Going out again?" "I have a role to play as well. You're more than enough to handle guarding. I'm going to find an escape route." Edith faintly smiled and then vanished silently. Perhaps I should have brought Jenna instead of her. In this setup, I don't have much to do. I rested my chin on my hand and spent time quietly. The sound of insects outside the window could be heard. About 10 minutes passed like that. "Priasis Alragna." I turned my gaze to the girl. With long silver hair and golden eyes, the girl, Priasis, was looking at me. "It's my name. I am the second heir to the imperial throne." "And?" "It seems you're just as stubborn." Priasis let out a bitter laugh. However, she soon regained her determined expression and continued speaking. "Where did you come from?" What a strange question. Anyway, our relationship was going to be short-lived. I replied briefly, "You don't need to know." "I revealed my identity and name. Can't you tell me at least that much?" "Telling you won't make you understand." "Is it that complicated? Did you come from somewhere I don't know?" "Let's just say that." "By any chance, are you the heroes who saved Nalessa?" I frowned. Nalessa. It was the name of the city we saved on the 10th floor. "It seems like I got the right answer." "How did you know?" "I saw it in a dream." "A dream?" "In that dream, the heroes were struggling to protect the city. I couldn't see their faces, but I had a strong feeling that it was you." Priasis let out a chuckle, but soon put on a determined expression and spoke again. "For a year now, I've been having strange dreams, very ominous dreams. In those dreams, everything was coming to an end. The Millennium Empire's capital, the capitals of the 4 major houses, and all the other big and small towns and cities, everything on the continent was burning. In the middle of that dream, I was convinced that if things continue like this, the continent will be destroyed." Priasis lowered her gaze. "Do you know? Strange things have been happening all over the continent lately. Unknown diseases are spreading, insects are swarming, and monsters are going mad. Nalessa's invasion must be part of that. Originally, they didn't trespass on human territory." Priasis spoke slowly. I was dumbfounded and retorted, "Why are you telling me this?" "I need power. Power. The power to save this world."
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe, comment, and like the video. Have a suggestion? Let me know in the comments.